LSU, we found out, has a couple of interesting football scheduling notes. First, future scheduling, we learned that LSU has added a home non-conference game to its 2022 schedule. So UAB is going to come to Tiger Stadium in 2022 on November the 19th. When most people around here say UAB, the first thing they think of course, was UAB coming into Tiger Stadium in 2000 and beating LSU in Nick Saban's first year, 13-10. But also, they played in Baton Rouge in 2013. If you remember, that was honestly the thing that nobody remembers from that game. That is the most memorable thing. Is Odell had a kick six in that game. And later, Gus Malzahn acknowledged that he saw that on film, and that's why he had Chris Davis back against Alabama in the kick six game, was because he saw Beckham do it on film. So that was against UAB in 2013. But when I look at that 2022 schedule, so LSU in 2022 is going to play Florida State in the Superdome. That's one of the, that, air quotes, home and home, but neutral that they're doing with Florida State. But also, the thing about the UAB game that is the best part of this is the date. November 19th. And you may go, what? LSU playing UAB in November guarantees they're not going to have an all-SEC November, which is a brutal way to finish the season. Most teams in college football in that second-to-last playing date or some point in November have a layup. They have a non-conference gimme, or an open date. LSU doesn't. Of late, anyway. Because of the way the schedule has been configured in this new format, LSU hasn't had non-conference games in November. I mean, this year, LSU played at Bama, at Ole Miss, then they were home against Arkansas, home against A&M. Four SEC games in November. This year, in 2020, your November looks like this. It's brutal. Bama, South Carolina, at Auburn, at A&M. You want to know why I'm worried about the A&M game? Not because I think A&M is going to be great shakes. They got a senior quarterback, but the fact of the matter is that's a brutal way to finish the schedule. That's going to be the fourth of 4 consecutive SEC games in the week after you go to Auburn. You got to go to College Station. That's brutal. So when you look at 2021, you're also going to have an all-November SEC slate. Your non-conference games in 2021, you're on the road at UCLA September the 4th. A week later, you're home against McNeese. A week after that, you're home against Central Michigan. And then October the 9th, you get ULM, which means you will have an all-SEC November. You won't get that breather in the last month of the season. So 19, 20, 21, 3 straight years, LSU will have all SEC games in November. So they'll get a break from that in 2022 because they'll get to play UAB in Tiger Stadium on November the 19th. So at least in 2022, that's going to be broken up a little bit. Interesting. Teams benefit from a late season breather. You just do. When you're going through that gauntlet through October and you're in the meat of your schedule, you get an opportunity before a rivalry game or before you head into a conference championship. You get that week to rest guys if you need it. I mean, that's a valuable spot in the schedule for teams to get rest, and it's an unfair advantage for teams that are able to position it that LSU hasn't been able to and won't for 3 consecutive years. So I'm glad that that's going to shake out in 2022 the way it does. The other thing about 2022 is Tennessee is going to be in Baton Rouge, and that will be the first time that Tennessee is in Baton Rouge since this happened.
LSU quickly. They should have called 2 plays there. Oh, my goodness. What are they doing? They're sending people on the playing field. 10 seconds left. Nobody knows what to do. This may be the last. Oh, and they snapped it behind Jefferson, who falls on it. The game is over, and Tennessee won. Holy cow, can you believe that? It's a flag in the end zone, but let's see what it is. I mean, LSU simply did not have a play ready. That's unbelievable to me.
But as we know, it worked out okay for LSU in the end.
Jefferson under center. Tosses it out to Ridley, and Ridley in for the score! LSU wins the game! Holy cow!
And that sparked one of Les's greatest post-game moments.
Okay, you just witnessed something that I don't know that I've ever seen in my entire life. They just called that team the winner. And then, whoa, come on back here. Then they called us the winner. I'm going to tell you right now, as an experience, damn it, I'm going to enjoy that one as much as I hate to admit it.
That man did a lot of good here. Won a lot of games, won a national championship, played for the most dominant season in LSU history until Bama got a rematch they didn't deserve. There's some things I'm not going to miss ever. So this will be Tennessee's first trip to Baton Rouge since that, which also illustrates how absurd the SEC scheduling is. That you could go from 2010 to 2022 without hosting a team from the other division. 2010 to 2022. Like, if you celebrated after the LSU Tennessee game in 2010, you consummated the win, and 9 months later, your bundle of joy came into the world, your child will be 12 years old getting to watch Tennessee come in to Tiger Stadium, and you get to say, well, Johnny, the last time Tennessee was here is how you came about. And now he's in 7th grade. Yes, Bama, Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee. Bleep you. I don't care about your stupid rivalry games, and nobody else walking the face of planet Earth does except those 4 fan bases, yet we get this awful scheduling system because of your lunacy about rivalry games that nobody gives a damn about. Nobody outside of Auburn, Alabama, and Athens, Georgia, 2 cities the size of my thumbnail, nobody outside of those cities cares about your game. And by the way, if you're in Knoxville, Tennessee, you should be begging to get rid of the Alabama game because they have kicked your ass for a decade straight. Has it been longer than a decade? Probably longer than a decade now. So Tennessee will be here in 2022. And LSU will have a breather in November when UAB comes in. One other thing we learned today, I don't know I didn't intend to go down that road, but I did. We learned also today that LSU, their game against Rice this year in NRG Stadium, is going to kick off at 2:30. So it'll be a day game. TV network has not yet been announced. And the network, remember, that's Rice's home game. When LSU goes to Rice this year, they're going to play in Houston at NRG, the home of the Texans. But that is a Rice home game. That is not a neutral site. That is Rice's home game. LSU is the road team. They're the visitor for Rice's home game. So that means the TV network is determined by Rice's affiliation through Conference USA. And Conference USA's primary TV partner is the CBS Sports Network. It's CBS Sports Network and then streaming services, Stadium, like Watch Stadium, and Facebook. And then ESPN Plus. So, a couple of things. There's a lot of people, a lot of LSU fans who may wonder, why do you play this game? Like, why are you going to Rice as a road team? Couple things. Obviously, number one is you get to play in Houston. We know how much LSU recruits in Houston, a gigantic fan base in Houston, largest alumni base outside of Louisiana is in Houston. LSU likes to go to Houston. They do Tiger Tour stops in Houston. They played Wisconsin in Houston. Like, they like to play in Houston. Number two, if you look at the contract for that game, Rice is paying LSU $3.5 million to play that game at NRG. $3.5 million. Let me put this into perspective for you. Rice's annual football revenue is in the neighborhood of $12 million. The total amount of money that Rice football generates is about annually $12 million. They are going to pay LSU nearly or more than right about 25%, a quarter of their entire revenue is what they're paying out to LSU to play this game. It is brutal for Rice if there are no fans in the stands for that game. Because they will owe LSU $3.5 million. And you better well believe they were banking on filling a 70,000-seat stadium at $50, $60 of whatever the ticket cost was going to be for that game. They were banking on having all the exposure of getting to play LSU, playing in an NFL stadium, but collecting the gate. And there may not be a gate. That could be a massive day for restaurants and bars. I mean, just think about it. If fans aren't allowed in, and it's on some obscure network like the CBS Sports Network, or if it's on like Watch Stadium, or it's broadcast only on Facebook, I don't think it'll be there. I think it'll probably be on CBS Sports Network. Or maybe ESPN works a deal to snag it. Defending champs, I don't know. But if it's on an obscure network and there are no fans in the stands, think about the day that will be for restaurants and bars. Literally everybody will have to go somewhere to watch it. Poor Rice. You pay a king's ransom to bring LSU to your building. Not even your building, to your city. You get it in an NFL stadium thinking, all right, we're paying a big, gigantic nut, but we know they're going to bring 70,000 people, all the LSU fans in Houston. We're going to fill this thing out, and it'll be great, make a whole bunch of money, even though we got to pay them a bunch. Is there any fan base in the country, any athletic administration in the country right now praying for fans in the stands more than Rice in that game? I mean, you want to talk about I'm sure Rice as a private school has plenty of philanthropy and giving, but otherwise it might be tough to field some sports if a quarter of your football budget goes to LSU and you don't make up the money on the gate.